shine, together we grow. From grade to grade, the bonds will last. It's the Lambert Connected Podcast.
Hello, Lambert community, and welcome to the Lambert Connected Podcast. I'm your host for today's episode, Sarah Pritchard, the Education Technology Coach here at Sharon Elementary. And today we're going to talk to you about a few things: how to connect with our schools and teachers, the role of universal screening, starting the year off strong, and why attendance matters so much. I'm joined by three of our awesome leaders in our community: Principal Brian Nelson from Sharon Elementary.
Hello, Lambert families.
Principal Dr. Angela Perry from Brookwood Elementary.
Hey everybody at Lambert, so happy to be here.
Assistant Principal Dr. Brandy Ford, Sharon Elementary.
Hi everyone, I'm so excited to be here.
Thank you all for being here. So we're just going to kick it off here with building connections. So Mr. Nelson, how do you and your staff work on building connections with students and families at the start of each school year?
Well, you know, it starts in the summer, almost right before the school year begins. We like to get it going with the kindergarten roundup, get the new families and kids in the building so that they can feel comfortable. We move to open house after that, and most schools do a similar thing, just seeing smiling faces coming back after summer and building that momentum. We like to get a newsletter out early, let families know what's going on. And then we like to do school spirit events. We had a trampoline day at the trampoline park on a Sunday afternoon, just getting everybody connected and excited about being back at school.
Yeah, I can think of nothing better than when you see those kids walk through the door on the first day of school and those smiling faces. There's just nothing that fills my cup more than seeing those smiles.
Yeah.
Dr. Perry, how do you encourage your teachers to connect with families and with one another?
Well, similar to what Mr. Nelson has shared, I think it's so important that we start communicating from the beginning. And something that I have encouraged our teachers to do is to communicate in multiple modalities. So we're actually experimenting with other ways, like this podcast, right? Different ways that we can communicate. I also think that we have really done a really good job at encouraging our families to participate in school events, particularly those where we can bring our entire community together, because the more that we learn about each other, the more we want to be around each other. Through our teachers, I feel like we have found ways for our teachers to connect as well, not just through that communication, but we build in time together. We build in planning time. We build in fun events. We just had a potluck not long ago. But having that time to just be around each other and be human, I think is so important for our connection.
Yeah, I've heard so many situations, too, where teachers will talk about the community and the teachers and the families that they've built connections with. And I think it's so important that, we are here for our families. And it's so evident in the teachers that we have here at Sharon and also at Brookwood.
Very true.
Dr. Ford, what role do you play in supporting these connections?
So the role I get to play is multifaceted because I get the honor of being an educator as an AP in the Lambert Connected family, but I'm also a parent in the Lambert Connected family. So as an assistant principal, I work with our teachers, and really everything we do is so relationally driven. I get to be a part of building the relationships directly with them as grade levels, with them vertically in planning, and then even beyond the school when we partner with other schools like Brookwood to grow our capacity for anything that we're doing, whether we're looking at engagement or instructional practices. We're developing the connections amongst our building level leaders. And then along with families, it's so just rewarding and exciting just to sometimes wave at families when they're coming to pick up kids after school and to talk to them in car line, to be available as a support system when they need it for whatever they are going through. I can't say how many families have my school cell phone number so that way they can text and let me know what's going on. So a lot of the things that we get to do are to build those connections on a more personal level. But then as a parent, I get to see my kiddo participate in all of the events while also watching him get to connect with all of the other kids within our building and across the Lambert family. So that's something really special and unique in the role I play.
Yeah, we love seeing your little guy run through the halls, too.
Let's try not to run.
So as we shift over, just kind of universal screening, parents have heard this term before but may not know exactly where it comes from, what it is. So Dr. Ford, can you explain universal screening a little bit to us?
I'd be happy to. So universal screening has been around for as long as I've been in the county, really, so at least 20 years. But it's taken a lot of different appearances and applications in that time frame. So what it means now is that using the Georgia Early Literacy and Dyslexia Act, we are required to offer universal screening 3 times a year, so fall, winter, and spring. And what that looks like is a little bit dependent on the grade level. So for us, we do iReady diagnostics in math and reading for K-5. And then each grade level also has some assigned specific literacy tasks that are different for each of those 3 administrations. And the data that we can gather from that as educators really helps us target our instruction, our interventions, and our extension for all of our students. It really does empower us to give our kids a better quality education because we know exactly where they are, we know exactly what they need, and we can meet them there.
Yeah, that's so great. And I know that I get that email too. I've got a pre-K student, and it says your universal screening results are ready. And I'm like, what does that mean? So Dr. Perry, can you help run through that a little bit with us? What does it mean? How do we get our results? How do we make sure that those are clear for our families?
Yes, I'd love to. And so as a parent, I also get that email. And the first thing I noticed is, I can't log in unless my child logs in for me. So make sure it's your child logging in. And then the code is different every year. I think that's also important to mention. So you'll type in that specific code, and then it is a very easy to read graphic with some information there just to see how your child is performing in reading and math, keeping in mind that it will change over the year.
Yep.
I think what's important is that through that plan, we as a team, as a school team, are then able to look at possible additional supports that students need. Yeah. And we are communicating that specific plan with families, either by way of phone call or letter. Sometimes we'll meet as a school team just to talk a little bit more about what do those interventions, like Dr. Ford mentioned, what do they look like? How long will they take place? And will my child miss class time for these interventions? These are all things that we can discuss because every child is different and every need is also different. I think in this case, it is so important for us to have that open communication where it's not just us sharing information about your child, but if you have questions, we are encouraging you to ask. We are also encouraging you to ask how you can support and what can we all do together as a Lambert family to make sure that our students are successful.
Yeah, we definitely love those questions just because we need to know what marks we might be missing on and how we can help better communicate with our families.
To piggyback on what Dr. Perry said, so we can look at universal screening as another way for us to continue to build those connections with our families.
Mm-hmm. Definitely. And there's a lot of families that are new to the process. So you've got a lot of kindergarten babies that are coming up. Yeah. So what do you say to those families that have those new kindergartners that are new to this entire process, Mr. Nelson?
Yeah, what a great opportunity to get to know your kids better. I mean, generally when you think about tests, you think about the test that teachers give. And that varies a little bit from teacher to teacher. The great thing about universal is it's a kind of test that every kid's going to get. It's very consistent, and it's not for a grade, so there's no high stakes associated with it. And it really gives us a great baseline to understand not only areas where we might need to intervene for a child, but also areas where we can do some enriching for kids. It can show us areas of strengths that our students have and allow us to build enriching activities to build upon those strengths. I also like the fact that it is planned throughout the year. In my mind, it's kind of like going to the doctor for a health and wellness check, right? You don't want to wait till something's wrong to go to the doctor. If you go regularly for those checkups, the doctor can see things that are going on and you can take care of them before it becomes an issue. Mm-hmm. And when the doctor sees good things, like you might be like, hey, well, in my case, it always starts with at your age. At your age, your heart's in pretty good shape. I'm at that point in life. But when there are good things that are found, we can make sure we're connecting that child, that family, to enriching experiences to help nurture those strengths, in addition to any interventions that could be needed.
Definitely. And, universal screening, our first one, has already happened this school year. So just kind of piggybacking off that, the start of the school year, how do we ensure that we set a positive tone for our school year, for our community, Dr. Perry, can you help us out with that?
Yeah, it seems like the theme, right, is connection. And so we are just so excited to welcome back our students at the beginning of every school year. We start with celebration, and it really starts in our car line. I mean, we want to make sure people feel welcome, feel connected, feel part of the family. Something that we have also done to set the tone is we are a PBIS school, and that is Positive Behavior Intervention System. And so we definitely thrive on the positive. So being able to set those routines and expectations are essential for kicking off our school year on a positive way. Kids, if you ask your child at home, hey, what is it that's important to you at school right now? What is we call it roar. What makes bobcats roar? We talk about being respectful and being responsible and being ready to learn. What does that look like, and how can that translate through your entire day, including at home? So these are conversations that we also encourage our families to have. Really does set a positive tone.
Yeah, and you mentioned that the first start of when the car lines are going through, and I don't know if you guys are dog people. Well, I know Dr. Ford.
Yeah, the dogs of car line.
But yeah, bring the dogs through the car line. I love seeing those little dogs hanging their heads out the window, and I'll welcome it. But, Dr. Ford, she might break out a little bit with those allergies.
It's okay. I will hug the children.
Mr. Nelson, how do you build momentum and just keep that excitement high throughout the entire year?
I think it really starts with goal setting. Similarly, there's Roar at Brookwood, there's the Night Shield at Sharon, and there's something just about at every school, right? But the goal is to have consistent expectations that we kind of center our goals around. And sometimes those goals are academic goals for kids. There are also goals in terms of behavioral expectations. How do we treat each other? How do we relate in the hallways and things of that nature? And then we have goals as it relates to the community. How do we want to give back to the community this year? And setting goals around what it looks like to give back in charitable ways. And so once you have those goals set, you build those momentums by having checkpoints where you see how you're doing in those goals, and then have an opportunity to celebrate success when you reach milestones in those goals as they come up. So you want to have events and ceremonies where you can honor the accomplishments as kids reach the marks that they've been aiming for.
And I definitely see this translating K-12.
Yes.
Right, and even beyond. This isn't just the elementary world we're talking about right now.
Yes.
This is all of our students collectively.
Mm-hmm. And the success comes from consistency and routines. And why are those so important, Dr. Ford?
Well, I think back to what Mr. Nelson said, anytime that there is a goal, how do you ensure that you're going to reach that? As a female who is, now over 40, I feel like I'm consistently working towards a goal for my personal health. And so what does that look like? I have to be consistent with what I'm eating. I have to develop routines. And so really what we're trying to do with consistency and routines is develop habits for our kids. And we want those habits to help broaden their life expectations here in the school as well as beyond, but also to hold them accountable for their actions, so that way our school is safe, we're connected, and we're thriving, to really connect it back to what Forsyth County wants for us to create for all of our schools. And so without consistency and without routines, there's no way that's going to happen.
Yeah, and you mentioned the consistency and the routines, but how does that apply to attendance? Why is that so important for our students?
Well, if a child is not here, if they're not in the seat of learning, it's going to be very challenging for them to learn. It's also going to be challenging for them to develop those consistent routines and habits to reach their own personal goals.
Yep.
So one of the things that within every school, we do monitor student attendance. And we make sure that we're in communication and building those connections with families for students who maybe aren't being in attendance as often as they need to be. And also so that we're providing the supports if there's a barrier to attendance, so that way we can help and walk whatever path that is with the family.
Yeah, Dr. Perry, do you have anything to add to that?
Yeah, definitely. In my 20 years of educational experience, have found that if kids don't have a reason to want to come to school, then that battle in the morning is sometimes challenging, right? So something that we have really taken a lot of time as, I think, a whole system is student engagement and building relationships. It's super important for a student to feel connected to someone in the building. In the education world, in elementary, we call it a trusted adult, right? Someone who that they're connected with, that they want to come and see every single day at school, and someone who's going to be checking to see if you're there. If we aren't able to connect them to the adults and the other students in the building and keep them engaged, then sometimes attendance becomes a dilemma. And we don't want to get to that point. We always want our students to be present so that they can be successful.
Definitely. And just across that whole K through 12, I know Mr. Nelson and myself came from high school, so we saw the attendance and how that, that impacted our students. So, what is a message that you'd like to share directly with our Lambert community?
Yeah, I mean, what a great opportunity as a parent to create this precedence for consistency, to model that as a way of life. There's really no goal you're going to reach in this life without having consistent practices for how you do things. Think about, and I know I'm dating myself, think about those Rocky movies, right? It's watching
Never
this guy
seen
wake up
those.
at 6 a.m. every morning,
Every
running down the
morning.
street every day. He's drinking the egg yolks and running up the stairs to the building in Philadelphia, and through consistency, you see him growing and getting better, and he finally makes it up the steps. And you're so excited to celebrate with him because you know the routine he did every day and the sacrifices he made to get there. But what an opportunity to show that to our students, that consistency pays off, that it's a gateway to your goals and dreams, especially as you think about a high schooler who all of a sudden, from May, 2 months later, into August, is now living on their own at a college campus far away. They're independent. And now there's no mom or dad to wake them up. There's nobody to tell them to get to class, nobody to say do that homework or go to sleep. But if they've had that consistency modeled throughout their time in Forsyth County schools, they're going to be in position to be successful as they move forward. And one thing that I'd be remiss if I didn't also point out, as we think about ourselves as a community, I think what a great destination to live and work and do life in and be in school. Attendance is actually one of the measures that the state uses to rate our schools in what's called CCRPI. In layman's terms, it's just the way they rate us, okay, our scores, our rankings. Attendance is a part of that equation. So as other families are looking for places to live, they think about what's the feel of the community, are people welcoming in that community, are there opportunities there, and what are the schools like? Well, attendance is a great way to put a good foot forward as folks think about moving into a place where folks prioritize getting their kids in the building every day, and you get like-minded people wanting to move in and be a part of that culture. So it's just another great way to show those who are thinking about living here what this community is all about and why it's such a great place to live, work, and go to school.
There
Definitely.
are some of us that came through the school system and recognized how great it was and just never left.
Yeah, there's no doubt we live or personally, we live in a good county, and we have just an amazing school district. And
Yeah, those are the OGs.
Yeah.
That
So
stands for
thankful.
Original Girls, right?
do you guys have anything else to add, or kind of just have any wrap-up thoughts that you have for our community?
I am just so thankful to be a part of this Lambert community and Forsyth County schools as a whole. I do agree with Mr. Nelson. I feel like there's no better place to be.
Definitely. Well, thank you all for sharing your insights today, and thank you to our Lambert Connected families for tuning in. We're definitely excited for the school year ahead and for all the ways that we can continue to build the kindness, the connection, and the community that we have. So this has been the Lambert Connected podcast, and we'll see you guys next episode.